galactic travelers. Are you resonating? This is Resonant Being, streaming you some consciousness. I'm here at a jewel of the California Central Coast, one of my most favorite places, the Elkhorn Slough Reserve, located at the center of the beautiful Monterey Bay that we're looking out at just on the horizon. In the left of the screen, you can see the Moss Landing power plant just in the farmost background. In this episode of Stream of Consciousness, I want to talk about humankind. I want to talk about nature. I want to talk about human nature. Is there really even a difference between human nature and nature? I want to talk about humankind nature. Please be kind. What spurred this train of thought in me today was listening to a talk here at the volunteer headquarters of the Elkhorn Slough Reserve about man's relationship with this particular piece of land. Now, this estuary that we're looking out at was originally connected, I'm told, to the Salinas River, flowing north from the Salinas Valley, passing through the estuary rather parallel to the bay, and then just north of the estuary, hooking west, and the Salinas River mouthing into the bay there. But in the 1940s, it was endeavored to open up the Elkhorn Slough estuary directly into the Monterey Bay via the installation of a channel, the dredging of a channel, carried out by the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, the purpose of this was to create it into a commercial fishing harbor, of which it was very successful, but also of which repercussions, such as, in this case, environmental repercussions on the ecology, the whole of the ecosystem, are not something that was thought out or factored into the construction of the channel, typical of the times. And in theme with, if you've been watching through the videos, what I like to harp on of our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with our environment. So, by opening up this estuary directly to the Monterey Bay, it drastically changed the amount of tidal influence and hence salt water coming in and out of the estuary from the bay, and also resultantly the amount of silt being taken out from the estuary, changing the ecosystem as a whole. So how does this relate to humankind and the nature of humanity, human nature, and being kind? What kind are we? What it seems is that carrying out a project such as this, the dredging of the channel into the Monterey Bay 70 years ago, had good intent. And I love this fishing harbor and Moss Landing State Beach. It's a great place, and I understand where they're coming from. But at the same time, what's interesting to notice is the mode of operation, the operative, the mentality from which such a type of manipulative, ecologically manipulative action would be carried out. And that's that the earth is man's to do what man wants to do with it. Everything is resources, a commodity that can be harvested and profited from. And there are repercussions. So, when we're operating from this way of thinking, that's what happens. And if you talk to most people coming from a Western perspective, or even better said, a modernized perspective, or maybe another way of saying would be a non-tribal perspective, trying to paint a picture here, is that a people coming from a more tribal perspective, an indigenous group of people, would not look at an environment, from what I've read and heard, as resources to be reaped, but would instead look at their environment as something that they need to be most respectful of because it's the provider. So, coming from that perspective, no such action would have been carried out. And I think this is a very interesting juxtaposition to consider, because it highlights the imperative relationship between thought and action, between internal and external worlds, and how our cultural narrative shapes the physical world around us. Please consider, what is nature? Are humans separate from this? What do the indicators say? And how can humankind learn to be more kind so that all kinds can live together? Resonant beings, be well.